Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, November 8th, 2024. You know what that means. Friends, it's time for me to answer all of your burning questions live. This week, we will be covering the results of the 2024 election and how the marijuana measures across the country fared when put before voters. Hey, Nick, good to see you. Hey, Brady, welcome. Glad everyone's here. Hey, everyone on on Instagram. Thanks for joining us. Hey, I see someone asking why we use the word marijuana in our name. Well, NORML was founded in 1970. And that's the word that people used then, and it's still the word that people use now. And look, I get it. Some people don't like the word, but the fact remains that that's when this organization was founded, and that's the language of the times, and it's still the language of today. No one here is recommending that you write public policy reliant upon the word marijuana. You can use better terms there, but it's the word that people know. And listen, what's important is not the word itself, though. What's important is the public policy. So if people don't know what we're talking about, it's a lot harder for them to understand our message. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which word you choose, unless you're choosing your word for a very specific audience. So in policy discussions, choose wisely. In the media, choose wisely. When you're talking to the general public, they understand, marijuana or weed. Hey, Kingwood on Instagram, thanks for asking, where did we win at? We won big in a lot of places. Look, I know the big talking point around the election is how Amendment 3 fared in Florida, and we'll get into that. Let's get into all of it. Hey, hi, person from Japan watching. Thank you for joining us. I'm interested to know, someone made a comment about RFK is going to make some changes. Please tell me how RFK is going to make changes in relation to federal policy. I am riveted. Do tell. Hey, someone from Indiana called Facebook user, doesn't give me your name. Yeah, we're definitely talk about the Dakotas and what went down there. Hi, Chris. Thanks for coming back. Brady, thank you for the best comment so far, right? Hey, Marco, welcome back. Good to see you. Why can't I see your... Okay, hello, also Facebook user from Pittsburgh. Chris, I don't think that's what, in fact, is... Other Chris, don't think, in fact, that's what's going to be happening here, but I'm glad you all have a name for it in South Africa. All right, let's all jokes aside, let's get into the excuses are gross. It's not an excuse. It's just the facts, man. So if you don't like it, go somewhere else, right? Start your own organization. Let's talk about what happened with the statewide ballot initiatives. So Florida, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota all had statewide measures that were on the ballot. We'll just go in alphabetical order. Florida had Amendment 3 before voters, and this is a constitutional amendment. Okay, so because it was a constitutional amendment, it required 60% of the vote. Not a simple majority. Not a simple majority like, let's say, how we elect a president, right? Or a senator. This instead required a supermajority, nearly supermajority, of 60%. They failed to meet that, and they really fell just short of meeting the mark for Amendment 3. what does that mean? Well, it means that a majority of Americans supported legalization prior to the election, and that they still support it. What it means is that they didn't get 60%. Is that a directive to the legislature to take action? Maybe, but it's Florida. And Florida does not have a legislature that's particularly supportive of the policy changes for cannabis that Americans or Floridians want to see. I read an article today where a legislator was talking about, oh, well, it seems like maybe Floridians want this. They just want it with guardrails. Okay, well, you had some really serious guardrails on Amendment 3. It literally just turned on sales of existing operators. They're already selling. That's the whole point of existing operators. They're already existing and operating. It's a known quantity. You know what that looks like. You know what's happening. So that's very telling that Florida lawmakers are saying, oh, well, they just want guardrails. What's your medical program have? Anyhow, that's what happened in Florida. Will we see any legislative action out of that? Maybe. Will we see successful legislative action out of that? I don't think so. But I sure hope I'm wrong. We'll do the 3 that failed first, and then we'll talk about Nebraska. Okay, then we have North Dakota and South Dakota. We can talk about these together because they both failed, and they have both failed before. So there it is. North Dakota voters rejected the ballot measure to legalize possession, personal cultivation, and retail sale. Whereas South Dakota, they had a measure that was just legalizing possession and personal cultivation. It did not have any retail involved, and they rejected that as well. Hey, Rasta, on Instagram, I see you asking about Pennsylvania. We're looking at next year, next legislative session for Pennsylvania. All right. Let's see this question. Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you, Nick. Nick says we might as well start over here in Pennsylvania for next year. I think I think the writing is on the wall for that, Nick. Absolutely. However, I will also add for Nick and for Rasta, as I'm sure you both already know, there are action alerts in the NORML Take Action Center for Pennsylvania. There are also action alerts in the NORML Take Action Center for states that do not have legalization or decriminalization. If your state does not have statewide legalization or statewide decrim, we have an action alert for you. You can just go to norml.org/act, and then it's going to be right there below the map, the list of states. You click on it, and it's going to email lawmakers in your state about ending cannabis criminalization. We've got Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. There they are. So please do that. Hello, local. Happy Friday to you as well. I don't know what you mean, Dank House, about the t-shirt. How can you get a t-shirt? You can order one from the NORML store. Go to store.norml.org. And we have a lot of t-shirts there that you can order. Let's see if I can find that link for you. Here it is, NORML store. I'm going to drop that in the chat for you. right now. Dank House, you should see that on LinkedIn momentarily. Thanks for asking. Brady, I see your questions, and I'm gonna circle back to that. We're also probably gonna do a show on the broader impacts at the federal level next week. Hello to the other Facebook user from Pennsylvania. I think a lot of these comments are on point. Right, and then thank you. Yes, yes, Facebook user with no name. That is in fact what happened. So the fourth state that has a statewide measure was Nebraska, and they had medical cannabis before voters. And this had to be in two separate ballot measures. One was for patients, so the legalization of possession, and then one was for regulation, so legalizing the regulating the production of medical cannabis. And this was overwhelmingly approved by Nebraska voters. I think it's very telling. They approved the measures at 70.7% for the patient component and 67% for the sort of business component, if you will. That's huge. This is what Nebraska needed. This is what states that have not enacted meaningful reform need. And if your state does not have medical cannabis, hey, it's your time to shine. We're looking at you. Let's get that done, right? Let's look at Nebraska and say, okay, yeah, we understand there is a real appetite for this in states. So good job, Nebraska. Yeah, look, Brady, I think that personal cultivation is an important component, obviously, of legalization. That's something that's a legislative effort that Florida could undertake right now. Are they going to? Is it going to get through the Florida legislature? Does Florida have a governor that would sign that bill? I don't think so. You know, Brady, we can get shirts in pretty much whatever size. If you don't see the size you want, or anyone who's listening, if you don't see the size you want, you can just send me an email at orders at it doesn't really matter what email you use, but orders at normal.org will come to me. And I can reach out to the company that prints our shirts for us and say, hey, what size can you get in this style? And they will find it and they will let me know, and they can do a one-off for you, because they're all printed on demand. Yes, Brady, that's doing it as a constitutional amendment was an interesting approach. It's not to say it's it's been done before, but it was a big reach, a tall order, and there was a lot of fundraising around opposition, particularly driven by Florida's governor. And you know who jumped in bed with Florida's governor on opposing Amendment 3? Those hemp companies, a lot of hemp companies in Florida that are making these intoxicating products but don't want the competition. So I don't know why anyone wants to buy a product from a company, first of all, that's poorly regulated or unregulated at all. I don't know why you want to put that in your body, but let's say you do. I really don't understand why you want to buy that from a company that is A-okay with you going to jail for having weed. Like, why are you buying what's essentially weed substitute from a company that is like, no, you should go to jail for having weed because my business is more important than your freedom? Gross. Stop buying from those companies. Ryan, you're in Seminole County? That's where I used to live. Tell me more. Um, yeah, reciprocity would be great. Okay, let's I can't answer any of those questions. Marco, thank you. Comments. So many people from Pennsylvania. Hey Papa says Wyoming needs to follow Nebraska, right? Let's run a bill in Wyoming. Hey Zen Buddha in Los Angeles. Yeah, Rasta, I'm not buying that safety sensitive jobs nonsense. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it's an excuse. It's an excuse all day. There are plenty of states around the nation who have a high concentration of safety sensitive workers, right? Like we have that in Virginia and we figured that out, no problem. So Pennsylvania has a legislator problem, not a facts problem. Alex, I do not think North Carolina will in fact be next for adult use legalization. North Carolina does need a functional medical program though, and that would be a really great place to start. I don't think I said fatty, but okay. Yeah, I think I was just talking Voodoo and Alex. I was just talking with my colleague about North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and how there's these states in between. Well, those are the states in between Virginia and Florida, which are kind of putting the squeeze on those. Like they need functional medical programs. I know Georgia has a medical program, but it's not functional. It's limited. You can barely get anything. If you have a magical condition, you can get maybe some product somewhere. It's just not good. Like, good job starting, but you have so much more to do, Georgia, and that would be a really excellent focus in that state instead of these reaching for things that you're not ever going to get delivered. Focus on what you can get accomplished. Right, exactly. Yeah, low, exact, whatever. Yes, yes. What Brady is saying, low THC, whatever that means. Ah, I see, Ryan. I was reading your comment about renewing your medical card. You guys are hilarious. All right. Oh, that just got really big. I need to see the whole screen. Thanks. 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 Okay, so let's get back into the election results. So great news out of Nebraska, and then the rest of this is still going to be great news. In Texas, there were 3 cities with local measures. And what these measures do is essentially prohibit local police from issuing citations for charges related to marijuana or marijuana paraphernalia possession. And I believe these are at 2 ounces is the limit in these measures. But we have the Dallas Freedom Act, the Lockhart Freedom Act, and the Bastrop Freedom Act. And all 3 of these measures passed. So, like, huge high five to Ground Game Texas for getting these on the ballot and getting voters out to approve these measures. They did a really fantastic job. It's worth noting that the city of Dallas is about 1.3 million people. That's more people than both the Dakotas combined. So yeah, great job, Texas. Ground Game Texas has been successful in passing other depenalization measures like this throughout the state, and they just added 3 more to their list on election day. So great job. And then sort of the sleeper success of election night was Kentucky. So this was a local measure again, but voters in 106, 53 counties, 53 cities had language on their, I think they call them ballot resolutions. They had ballot resolutions in 106 jurisdictions in Kentucky that where voters were asked if they wanted to permit the operation of cannabis businesses in those localities. So this could be a dispensary or it could be a cultivation facility, right? Because Kentucky just legalized medical cannabis. All 106 were approved. 106. A clean sweep. That is impressive. That is really, really impressive. Huge congratulations to Kentucky NORML for that. Incredible, really incredible. I watched a little bit of Governor Beshear's press event where he talked about that clean sweep, and it was just really fantastic. Hi, Samuel. Good to see you. I wish you had a name, but Facebook user says they must be smoking more than barbecue in Lockhart. Hello, Not Given. Not Given says, I wish NORML would have helped oversee the Arkansas initiative. Well, I can tell you that they did not ask us for any input whatsoever. We'll support any thoughtful initiative. I mean, we're going to support every initiative, but if your initiative is sound, is not doing harm to consumers, is ending arrests our primary. Are you ending arrests? We're probably going to support it. Does not have to have everything that everybody wants all in one. Oftentimes you can't have that in a ballot measure. Oftentimes you're held to a single subject rule. Yeah, Arkansas is interesting, Ryan. It really is. It really, really is. All right, so those were the measures. If you want to see the results of the 2024 election, just head to NORML Election Central. You can find it on the front page of the NORML website, or you can go to norml.org/election. If you're watching this anywhere other than Instagram, there's a link in the chat now. There is a link. Yeah, so Brady, thanks for bringing that up. Brady is commenting that even though Arkansas does not, Missouri has adult use and personal cultivation, all of that. We have a fantastic NORML chapter in Missouri. Missouri NORML has a number of local chapters as well. They do a really great job. In fact, the chair of the NORML board of directors, Dan Vietz, is the head of Missouri NORML as well. So what the hell was that sound? So we do get good results from areas where we have really strong NORML chapters. Missouri being one of those examples. All right, so check out those results on NORML Election Central, and I'm hoping that next week Morgan and Paul will join me and we will talk a little bit more in depth about the implications for cannabis policy at the federal level, given the outcome of the election. And what does that mean? Feel free to tell me what you think it means in the comments, and I'll read them, at least to myself. There was other news this week I know it's hard to think about anything else sometimes, but here we go. There's other cannabis news that's not related to the election. Oh, hey, look, there's also more comments. They are messing with Texas, Chris. Ooh, yikes. Yes, not all state legislators are created equally. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna let you know when we got serious about cannabis in 1970. When you get serious about it, feel free to join us. Uh, let's talk about. I feel like all of these stories are going to be like, yeah, I know. um, this might be particularly useful for some people right now. There was a study that said that cannabis use is associated. The study findings, not the study itself. The findings indicate that cannabis use is associated with fewer sleep problems for young adults who have anxiety or depression. There you go. What else? What else? What else do we have this week? I don't have all these ready for you. Oh, I should have done this one at the top. We talked a little bit. Exactly, Ryan. Exactly, right? We did talk a little bit about this on last week's show because the Gallup poll had come out right before. Was it the? Of course, my calendar's on the wrong day. Yeah, the Gallup poll came out right before, or we wrote about it right before the show last week, and so we did include some of that, talk about that in last week's show. But listen, despite the setbacks, if you will, despite the mixed bag of results from election night, public support for legalizing marijuana remains near its all-time high. And the momentum in favor of reforming America's failed experiment with cannabis criminalization continues to grow. Evidenced by the fact that all of you are here right now on a Friday afternoon talking about cannabis policy on the interwebs. So, look, public support was high before the election for legalization, 68%, and after the election, still exactly the same. Nothing changed. What else do we have to tell you about? We've got 3 more. Oh, you guys, there's 3 more. Let's talk about PTSD. There is a study we're going to be reporting on this week that again, I feel like this is one of those things where you guys are going to go, no kidding. Investigators in this study conclude that results suggest an association between treatment with THC dominant flower and symptomatic improvement for patients with PTSD for up to 6 months. There it is. If you want all of these stories in your inbox, I got you. Just go to norml.org/subscribe. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box so you get the Saturday issue as well. But we deliver cannabis news every Thursday at about 4:20 Eastern, because we've got jokes. And then again on Saturday, we have the weekend weed read. It comes out about 9 a.m. Eastern. So subscribe. What are you waiting for? You can get these right in your inbox every Thursday, every Saturday. Let's see, what else do we have to tell you about? That was PTSD. Let's like, these are all of our favorites. Let's talk about fibromyalgia. Who wants to guess what that study says? Let's see. Oh, I like this. Here we go. Here's a little blurb we'll include with this one. You know, zoom it all around and we'll just drop it just like that. So this is a review of clinical trials. Yep. In this one, investigators say that cannabis-based products for medicinal use can improve musculoskeletal, somatic, and psychiatric symptoms in patients with fibromyalgia. And this is according to a systematic review of clinical trials published in a journal called Exploratory Research in Clinical and Social Pharmacy. They looked at 14 clinical studies and 5 review papers. And they reported that cannabis-based products reduced pain and other symptoms in fibromyalgia patients and did not possess serious side effects. We report a lot on studies related to fibromyalgia or chronic pain, as you all well know. James, you have a PTSD cannabis meeting every night around the fire, do you? Well, I hope you'll share that story, that study as well. And then what's our last news? Our last news of the week is how many people are in this document? Is about Alzheimer's. Oh, thanks, Chris. That's very nice. Okay, so this one is looking at Alzheimer and CBD. And in fact, this study, here's the conclusion from the Colombian researchers assessed the long-term impact of CBD oil on neuropsychiatric symptoms in patients who have Alzheimer's disease. And this involved daily consumption of plant-derived CBD, and they found that it did relieve agitation, anxiety, depression, and then other neuropsychiatric symptoms in patients with Alzheimer's. In fact, investigators reported that 95% of subjects achieved a reduction in these symptoms by more than 30% following 3 months of CBD treatment. And their improvements were maintained for the length of the study. So there you go. You can read all about that. Thank you for going down Degrees rabbit hole. I appreciated that. Hello, person in Luxembourg. I am fantastic. How are you? Thank you for watching and joining us on Instagram. Thank you to everyone who joined us on Instagram. I wish I could share. I wish it let me show your comments in this platform, but it doesn't. It only lets me show Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, sometimes Twitter. That's hit or miss. But wherever you're watching, first, thank you. Second, please hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. We do this every Friday, almost every Friday, about 4 o'clock Eastern. Sometimes we do other lives, but this show happens Fridays at 4 Eastern. You guys got to stop with the Grease commentary. You don't have to, but so distracting. What are some things I want to tell you about? Okay, so On Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, one of our Florida chapters, Suncoast Normal, does a show called The Rotation. And this is Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern, streams on YouTube. You can find it at Suncoast Normal on YouTube. But this Sunday, Normal political director Morgan Fox will be jumping in the rotation with Suncoast Normal. So if you want to hear from Morgan, they're definitely going to talk about the election. Tune into that show on Sunday at 11. Thank you for giving our page a big like. I appreciate that. That happened yesterday. Coming up, what other events do we have coming up? We have in December, we have the 2024 NORML Key West Legal Seminar. If you like cannabis policy, and I know you do because you're here, come join us at the Pure House Resort and Spa in beautiful Key West. December 5th through 7th, you can register at normal.org/Key West. Here's the thing. If you are an attorney and you need CLEs, NORML legal seminars are fully accredited in every state that requires continuing legal education credits for practicing attorneys. If you don't need CLEs or you're not an attorney, we got you. We have a discounted rate for you. You don't have to be an attorney to come to the legal seminar. Everybody is welcome. It is a really fantastic way to get to know legal experts from around the country who are specializing in cannabis law, and to make connections that will help you, help us as we move from prohibition to cannabis freedom across the country. Plus, you can hang out with me and Keith and Paul in Key West. So come do that. Coming up in January, we've got the 2025, I can hardly say that, the 2025 Virginia Cannabis Conference. This is produced by Virginia NORML in Richmond, Virginia. It's at January 24 through January 26. You can get full details, including tickets, at virginiacannabisconference.com. And then on January 27th is Virginia NORML's Lobby Day. Of course, it's free to participate in Lobby Day, but you do want to register in advance so that we can try to get meetings with your senator and delegate on your schedule. You can register at the Virginia Cannabis Conference website. Right there. What else we get to talk about? This was such a quick show. Everyone, I think, is like dazed and confused after this very full week, very active week. A lot of things happening. Maybe you're like, you know what I need is some retail therapy. Why don't you swing into the NORML store? There are lots of hoodies, sweatshirts, nice and soft. Maybe get some holiday gifts. Make yourself feel a little cozy. Make your loved ones feel a little cozy, and help legalize it at the same time. Where's the NORML store website? I know I dropped it in here before for you, but let's do it one more time in case you're like, yes, I do need some retail therapy, and I would like to shop to legalize it. Check that out on the NORML store, and you can grab a copy of clinical applications for cannabis and cannabinoids, a review of the recent scientific literature right there in the NORML store. Again, we've got tons of shirts and sweatshirts in there as well. We've got pins, buttons, stickers, and we will have 2025 ornaments in the store very soon. Don't get you can get the 2024 ones if you want, but they haven't been updated yet. But I will get them updated this week to 2025, and then we'll have those ornaments as well. Insulin. I'm not discounting your theory. It's entirely possible. Samuel. Oh, hey, Real. Did we talk about this last week? Real has a comment here. It says, in my state, Arizona, each adult can grow up to 6 plants. What if 5 of those plants turn out to be male? Well, that sucks. What if 4 plants get sick and die? Well, good thing you have 2 that aren't dead. I don't know. That's probably a great thing to talk about with like other growers. Do you have a community, like Facebook group or something of growers in Arizona? I'm sure they have a lot of thoughtful feedback on that. I know that I've seen those in Virginia. So maybe look for one of those on whatever platform you like. Check out Arizona NORML. They probably have some really thoughtful suggestions for you there. And they're a really active chapter. So if you are in Arizona, like Real, make sure you connect with Arizona NORML. If you want to find your NORML chapter, or you want to start a NORML chapter, awesome. You can do both of those on the NORML website. You can find a chapter on the chapters tab and then get connected with them. If there isn't one, you can email us at chapters@norml.org, or there's a link to submit the form as well. So you can start one. We would really like to work with dedicated individuals in states that don't have an organized chapter, states that really need meaningful reform. Your state does not have medical cannabis. It's a great time to get involved. And if you don't, look, you're here because you're interested in changing cannabis policy, not because you know how to lobby your legislators. And that's okay. We can teach you that. We can teach you that skill. In fact, NORML partnered with Green Flower Media a few years ago to produce the cannabis advocacy certificate. That was a lot of words at once. There's a certification program that you can do online through Green Flower, and you will hear me, Paul, and Jax talking about how you can change cannabis policy where you live. So if you are interested in starting a NORML chapter, please reach out to us. If you end up being the person who does start the chapter and we approve your chapter, I will gladly get you a no-cost entry into that certificate program so you can take it and learn how to do the work in your state. Thanks, Samuel. Chris, first of all, this is funny, Chris, that it said jam, because that's apparently how Siri says my name on my partner's phone. I just learned. Now she's trying to talk to me. Siri. You would love to find some growers in LA, Los Angeles, not LA, Louisiana, for an event on the 21st of November. If you mean Los Angeles, then Los Angeles NORML is your go-to. Los Angeles NORML. You can find them on our chapters page. I think their email's right there. You can connect with them directly, or email me, and I'll put you in contact with Ian. Ian Rassman is the executive director of Los Angeles NORML. I knew. Okay, whoever's watching from Brandermill, I only see you as Facebook user. So thank you, because that's what I was thinking of, as I'm sure you know. I was thinking about Brandermill's community group, and I was like, that's what other people need. You do need to weed out the weeds in your Pennsylvania legislation. Look, I think Pennsylvania can get it done. You just have to get more Republican buy-in in Pennsylvania. I was up in Pennsylvania like 2 years ago. I don't know, 2 or 3 legislative sessions ago. I went up there to provide testimony for Senator Regan, and I enjoyed meeting with the legislators at that time in Pennsylvania. Most of them were Republican that I met with. So I think there's a path forward in Pennsylvania. It's about, there's a path forward in Pennsylvania, but you have to work with the legislature that you have. And I think that can be a real struggle for activists who want everything and they want it right away and they want it now, and they see a bill and they go, oh, well, that's not perfect, so here's all the things that are wrong with it. Well, great, now you're going nowhere, right? It's okay if your bill isn't perfect. It's also okay to have a bill that's not perfect and to point out what's not perfect about it and how there's room for improvement and still support it. I have to choke down bad legislation all the time and say, sure, let's do that. Doesn't mean I love it. It means I think it's a better step forward. And a step forward is better than no steps. It's funny, Samuel. We were just talking about that person on a call earlier today. Thanks for your efforts. And Chris, just email me so I can connect you with Ian. Poppy on Instagram, I see your comment. I'm going to read it. Poppy says, since the election in Virginia, what changes may occur through policy and regulations? Is there going to be any significant changes? In Virginia, 0. There's no impact at this point in time on state law in Virginia based on the outcome of federal elections. Now, Virginia policy will be significantly influenced by the outcome of the 2025 election. That is what Virginians ought to be looking at when it comes to what's next, right? The 2025 General Assembly, which starts in January, is likely to be a big fat nothing burger. We've still got the same administration who wants to do nothing. So don't expect much out of that. There will be bills, just don't expect the administration, the governor, to sign them. Also, they're not necessarily going to be good bills. Not because of us, listen. But then you've got the gubernatorial election in November of 2025, and then that will directly impact what we come back to in the 2026 General Assembly. We could come back to a 2026 General Assembly with a governor who's ready to seal the deal, to do the work that hasn't been done, to finish it, to get adult use retail done. Or you could elect someone who hates adult use Virginia, and that doesn't seem like your best choice. Anyhow, you can stay tuned for my hot takes on all of those candidates. Hey, Woodyard. Yes. But yeah, I don't think, thank you, Poppy. I don't think that at this point in time, we're looking at any impact. Now, federally, could there be significant impact? I think that's what we're collectively holding our breath and waiting to see. I don't want to get too much into this because we're at the end of the show and we're probably going to talk about this on next week's show. But I will remind you that the first time Donald Trump took office, he appointed Jeff Sessions as Attorney General. And Jeff Sessions rescinded the Cole memo. The Cole memo is largely what directed the federal government to take a hands-off approach on states that were successfully regulating cannabis. Jeff Sessions came in and rescinded that memo. So do we have more of that nonsense, that reefer madness, prohibitionist administration? Is that, are we going to get another, are we getting that again? Is that what we're getting? Are we getting another boogeyman like Jeff Sessions? Maybe. Maybe could it impact federal rescheduling? Maybe. We're going to do a deep dive on that. So make sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe buttons so you don't miss when NORML goes live, because we are going to talk about that. I don't think that any education is going to be going on in that circle, that closed loop. Woodyard? No, I don't think there's a lot of learning or educating happening there. Real, no. So Real asks, when Sessions left, was it enacted again? No. It is, however, this administration does operate as if it were in effect. Let's not put that insulin. Let's not put Joe Rogan in charge of anything. He should stay in charge of his podcast and like nothing else. Also, all of these celebrities that are out there mouthing off about weed, like, that's super neat. But at the end of the day, they're not doing anything to protect your rights as a responsible consumer. They're not donating to, partnering with, listening to, or communicating in any capacity with the national organization that over half a century ago was founded to protect the rights of responsible consumers. So just because some bro out there is, saying how much he loves weed on the interwebs, doesn't mean he's actually doing anything. It's one thing to talk the talk. It's another thing to walk the walk. Oh, okay, great. This was a disappointing season finale. Like, we've got cliffhangers though, Brady. We've got a cliffhanger in Pennsylvania, that's for sure. We got a cliffhanger on an extended timeline in Virginia. We got a cliffhanger in Nebraska, and we should have talked about it a little earlier. So Nebraska did pass those two medical ballot measures, but there's a legal challenge. And the judge very smartly was like, listen, I cannot make this decision before the election. So the election is going to move forward and those votes are going to be counted. She is going to hear testimony, and said it would be about 2 weeks was when they expected to have a ruling. So really hoping for a good ruling from that. Someone just broke a glass in the kitchen. From, I think it's a district court judge in Nebraska. I was just looking to see if it was in there. I don't have it handy. But yeah, that's the big cliffhanger, Brady, is Nebraska, I think. Can the lawsuit over? Yes, the judge's ruling is what will determine whether or not this is the will of the voters is enacted. Absolutely. Insulin, this is funny. So Insulin had made a comment about Elon Musk earlier, and then says, who also happens to be in Texas. Funny how the laws in Texas don't apply to him. Well, he's a wealthy white guy, so you know how the law works. Brady says, with Republican-controlled White House, Senate, and Congress, what are my predictions for the future of cannabis? Not good. Not good. I don't expect to see much movement out of that type of trifecta. I've lived that trifecta at the state level and watched everything go to die. I don't know what's going to happen at the federal level. I think really the first thing we're looking at is it going to be another Jeff Sessions type of scenario? So we'll see. Great. It's 5 o'clock. It's your cue, Brady. Yeah, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. Insulin says anybody's guess at this point. They could do the funniest thing ever and legalize it federally, then tax it to finish a certain person's border wall. They could, but Republicans in Congress have had the opportunity to end federal prohibition multiple times. Like the MORE Act isn't new, and they don't like it and they don't vote for it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see someone bring back a really clean version of it. Um, we had the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act. It was 2017. That was a really straightforward bill. It did not have all the bells and whistles that you see in, broader legislation like CAOA or MORE Act or states or whatever. It was just remove marijuana from the Federal Controlled Substances Act and allow states to set their own policies without threat of federal interference. Will we see a bill like that again? Could. Maybe there'll be a Republican who wants to introduce that. I'm not going to hold my breath. I do not need to get on that show, Chris, but thank you so much. Ooh. There you go, Brady. It is after 5 o'clock Eastern. And so Brady's given everyone permission to take the rest of the day off. Hope that works for your job. Hey, Mams, I like your comment. Mams says, this just feeds into my disillusionment with Democrats, both state and federal. A lot of talk, but slow walk the whole implementation. Feels like we are just used for campaign issues. Mams, I cannot say this enough about Virginia in particular. Yes, yes. It is, you were summing it up perfectly. It is one thing, regardless of which party you affiliate yourself with, it is one thing to say on the campaign trail, oh, sure, I support XYZ cannabis policy. It is another thing to get into office and then to actively advocate for that policy change, to champion that legislation, and then to vote yes. Because more often what we see are people who don't really care about it. They think there's some political expediency, so they maybe mention it on the campaign trail. Then they get into office, and then maybe they think they want to like mess around with this policy area in which they have no expertise, which is fine if you listen to actual experts. But then they do a terrible job, and they're like, oh well, whatever. Or they're like, yeah, go ahead and veto that. Because then they think there's more political expediency in it. Maybe they say things like, yeah, I hope the governor vetoes it. Maybe they say things like, I hope the governor vetoes it because I want to run on that. And then they don't actually run on that issue. And really it's not the same as like running on the economy. So let's make better choices, Democrats. Anyhow. You guys. Listen. Okay, Chris, I'll take your last question here. It's my Favorite type of cannabis? My favorite type of cannabis, very most favorite type, is legal cannabis. As you know, it's what we do here at NORML. We work to legalize it and to protect the rights of responsible consumers. So join us. If you are not yet a NORML member, you should join. Listen, I'm going to have the new 2025 membership cards up next week, but you can still join now. If you already have a 2024 card, I'll send you a 2025 card instead. If you don't, I'll probably just send you both. But you can find that at norml.org/join. It is really important that you join us for 2025. We're not entirely certain what exactly we are facing, but we know what we have faced from a Trump administration before, and it wasn't good. So it is going to be so very important that you all are communicating directly with your legislators at the state and federal levels so that they are very clear where their constituents stand on these issues. We have all the tools you need to be able to do that. We'll hold your hand throughout the process. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you. All right, friends, this has been great. I love hanging out with you all on Friday afternoons. We try to do this every Friday at 4 Eastern, so make sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And as always, I'll see you right back here next time. Bye-bye.